everybody. Welcome to preview week as the 2022 high school baseball season starts on Friday, April 1st. We've got our in-depth look at the entire NJSIA baseball season as we get going. We've got the guy who everybody wants to hear from. It's John Kroeger, the longtime guru of New Jersey high school baseball, set to break it all down for us. Today, we're going to start with the big schools, the big public schools, Group 3 and Group 4. We will just kind of get his thoughts on what we're looking at there across North and South Jersey. And we will start with, we'll run through both brackets here. Last year, you guys may recall that Middletown South knocked off a surprise Montclair team in the Group 4 final. Montclair got through a couple of upsets, got on a nice run, and got to the finals before Ben Shield and company took care of them. And in Group 3, we had the epic final, Ocean City beating Pascagoula Valley in a game that I think might still be going on. It was a long game in Hamilton Township at the Mayo Field, and Ocean City winning its first state title ever. So we'll start with the last year's champs. Or any both teams, I guess, still in contention to got to be considered one of the favorites this year. But let's hit Group 4 and start in the north and see who might be able to unseat Middletown South, if anybody.
Well, I would like to say hello to everybody. Well, we talk about this today. Some schools have changed classifications. Like Bishop Eustace has gone into B. A couple other ones have changed also. But I don't know if in Group 4, if there's really any teams that have come up or went down that are really going to be affected. But a team that comes out to me, we're talking about the North and South. There's a lot of good teams. Hunterdon Central has everybody back. They're going to pick whenever they want to win a game with Kyle McCoy. I don't know if anybody can beat him. Eddie's a lefty, going to Maryland. He's 91 to 93 lefty. He's going to be really tough. So I think the other thing here is Hunterdon Central. Do they have a prime 2, 3, and 4 who can get by those games? And Kevin Kuzi, the coach at Hunterdon Central, can survive, because last year they couldn't survive against Middletown South. So, but I think you're going to see a rematch with that Middletown South Hunterdon Central, whether it's the finals or how it is. You get seeded depending on how the season goes. But I think Hunterdon Central is one of the teams you have to look at and has to be this year's preseason favorite. They're a loaded team. Absolutely. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, the hitting, pitching, I think them and Middletown South, if you're looking at Central Jersey, they're clearly the standout teams. If you're going to pick favorites, I think you go down to South Jersey and you probably have a little deeper set of clubs going after that, probably starting with, either like an Egg Harbor or a Williamstown as maybe the two that probably you get your biggest eyes on at this point.
So with Group 4, you also have the Passaic Tech situation for North Jersey. So any game Passaic Tech wants to win with Nasir Mule, all right, Mule, whatever he's going to be tough to beat. I mean, he's up to 98, 100 miles an hour. And let's not forget, this isn't a team that just has one pitcher.
Right.
They got Johnny Gilligan, who, to me, he's strike throwing machine in the mid 80s. His brother, who's a catcher, Jace, and then the kid. They're going to be a really tough out in Group 4, and I think Rob Newtown knows it, and that's why he asked me. He wanted to play one of the best teams in the state on that May 1st date, and I said, "How about St. Joseph and Touching? They're going to be a top 5 team." He goes, "Let's do it." So I think Passaic Tech's going to be a really tough out in Group 4.
Yeah, they might. I got to think that they're the favorite of the North Group 4 schools. The only, does Montclair have enough to make a run again? I love Anzaldi because he's such a, I don't want to say old school pitcher, but everybody's focused on throwing 99, 100 anymore as fast as they can. And, he's that classic lefty, can throw multiple pitches at any point in the count. And doesn't matter how much training you do. Those guys always seem to give you fits.
Yeah, and Zoldi had a great year last year, and he had a couple games where he got assisted by 5-4 wins, 3-2 wins. But speaking to him and his dad, I mean, he's gone up 4 or 5 miles an hour on his fastball.
Yeah.
And it's funny, every time he gets up a mile, he sends me the video and he proves it. He's a hard worker, Anzaldi. But that's not the only thing they have at Montclair. The coaching, Vazzi does a really good job with Gench. But they have a catcher, Ethan Dabido. He's worked with us at Ani Ramos Catching Academy, and he's really improved big time. And we all know he can hit, but as a defensive catcher, you got to have a really good catcher if you're going to win a championship. And he showed that last year, as he really had a great last 10 games of the season. So Montclair is definitely a good pick. Clifton with the lefty Rogers. He pitched against Nazir last year a couple of times, I believe. Clifton has a shot. They're going to be one of those teams that can beat you and maybe lose to anybody. They don't have a lot of kids back, but they have key players back. Team that I kind of like is Watchung Hills. You got Momoli and then Lorenzo Miola. That team's going to be a real tough out.
Yeah.
And I know they're probably saying right now, how about Watchung Hills? How about Watchung Hills? And they're going to play Huntington Central maybe 3 times this year. That's a good club.
And I like that senior class because they came in, I don't want to say at the bottom, but they took their lumps early and have sort of built towards something hopefully special here. But, as you mentioned, Jake and Lorenzo, it's a pretty good couple pieces to start with.
Yeah. So who's your North pick? Who you going with?
I hate just picking the favorites, but I got to think that Passaic Tech is probably, if I had to rank a favorite here. And I love that, I'm invariably going to get all these comments now in my inbox that I'm sleeping on so-and-so and I'm sleeping on so-and-so. I love baseball and I love the setup because it doesn't matter what we're talking about at the end of March. You got to prove it in June,
Yes.
And there's some teams, and I think you probably know of a few that, we think they might be good teams, and the coach might think, we're not quite there yet, but there are some teams, as we get through these brackets here that, might not be ready to be in that top 20, 25 yet, but you come the end of the year and you got to think that that's going to happen.
The thing that yes, it's a team game, but it's all about pitching in the States. I mean, North Brunswick last year was 17-10. Now, when do you get Zach Konstantinovsky? You get him, let's say coach says we're going to save him for round 2.
Yep.
And North Brunswick is 16-10, and they're the 8th seed.
They might not be around 2. That's right.
Well, if they win that first game and then they play Huntington Central, and if they win their 8-9 game, let's just say, and they play Huntington Central, he is going to be really tough to beat. He is a real
single elimination baseball in the postseason. It's crazy because it is what you can dictate with your pitching matchups, and it's a little bit tougher in pitch count world because you probably at least need a third or a fourth guy you can depend on. You can't just ride. Heck, you used to be able to ride one into the ground and just try to spot a second guy for a few innings, but you can't do that anymore. You need to have at least 3 guys, I would think.
Exactly.
But yeah, there's so many stories through the years of teams that were 500 but had one stud and just kind of rode them into a sectional title or something like that. Who's your group 4? picks at this point if we had to go find?
If I had to pick right now, if they push me against the wall, it's either Huntington Central or Williamstown. I like Williamstown's team a lot. The problem with them, if they get to a Diamond Classic final, are they going to throw Montone and win the championship, or does he go Saturday and he doesn't pitch Monday and they get upset by a Clearview or somebody like that? And listen, let's be honest, I'm just projecting Clearview being a good team, but I don't know if they're going to be as good as last year. Williamstown may have to play an 8-9 game. The winner of the 8-9 Clearview versus maybe Rancocas Valley or something like that.
And those are all teams that are able to beat. They are all able to step up and beat a top team on any day, because whether
absolutely, Group 4 South is the hardest by far.
Yep.
Andrew Pagano from Tom's River North said there is never an easy game in Group 4 South. He says it doesn't matter what seed you are, you can lose it. There's no way you can. It's impossible. Every game is tough.
Absolutely. Group 3 South isn't much, or Central and South isn't much easier this year. We look at some of the teams in Group 3 at this point. I know that, obviously Ocean City is going to have certainly a shot to repeat. If you're looking at, a two-pitcher tandem, Tommy Finnegan's gotten some of that velo back that he's had, and he looks really good in the offseason, as well as, going to St. John's next year, and Duke McCarron, who's already a Maryland commit that is, been in the low 90s over the winter. But you've got Colts Neck, which is certainly no pushover, obviously, in Central. You've got Central with Cam Leiter. You go up north, and it always seems to come down to Milburn in North too. And, you got a great Somerville team. You got a Ferris Club that we know you like. We got Drew Wires back down in Central Jersey with Northern Burlington
and Morristown.
Yeah, we hear they got a couple of pretty good. Obviously you want to start with somebody. Max Martin's a pretty good place to start up the middle, and Jesse Spector on the mound. So, what are we looking at in Group 3?
I'm going with the darkest of dark horses this year. And I'm gonna blow people off the map, and you're gonna be like, "Oh my God, yeah, this team." And every year, it's always Cranford and Milburn for me. I think Dennis McCaffrey and Brian Chapman are two of the greatest. I don't know if there's better coaches than those guys in New Jersey, but I am going further up north to Ramapo. I think Ramapo is the team. Last year, they had a great season. I think they were 17-8. They returned everybody. Their players, their pitching, they're loaded. They're really, really loaded. And I think Ramapo is my slight favorite out of the North. And listen, they're on the line as a team to watch. They're gonna have to earn their way in the top 20. Cranford and Milburn's been doing it for years in and years out. But I think Ramapo they're ever gonna get there with their basketball team out there. This is the year athlete at Ramapo. They got really good athletes at Ramapo. And I know TJ Hunt's probably listening, and he's saying, "Oh, he stole that from me. He stole that from me." He loves Ramapo.
Yeah, he might have some personal bias in that, though, I think, right?
Yeah.
What about the South, or South and Central? You got again, they always have been, loaded. What are we looking at in your mind?
Well, it's easy to go out of the limb and say Ocean City because of their pitching. But with Ocean City, listen, Andrew Bristol and their coaching staff are unbelievable. What they do there. I can't say enough about how awesome they are. But with Ocean City, I'm not going with Ocean City because they play too many 1-0 games. They got to hit. How many times you go to Ocean City game, the game's going an hour and 20 minutes. Their pitching's great, right? Maybe the best in the state with Duke and Finnegan. But, losing a catcher like Rapetti, and people don't understand how important he was last year to that team. You could talk about all the kids going to St. John's and Vanderbilt and this Maryland and this. He goes, Rapetti was the guy that really helped them out the most. And they lose him, and they're going to have to come back with a catcher. I know their pitching staff's tremendous. I don't know if there's a definite clear-cut team, but jeez. I mean, from the South, I think Wall is a really strong team offensively. If they can really pitch, they have a couple young kids. They're definitely going to hit. I know Rockford feels very strong about his team. I think early on in the season, Wall take a couple of lumps, and they got to beat Colts Neck, and I'm sure they're going to play them a couple times in big games. But I like what they're doing at Wall. They're a very good defensive squad. It's just their pitching's going to get better and better every game with the young kids, and they're up the middle. They're pretty strong.
Yeah, sure. No, and it's a great pick. Again, are you going to start with an Andrew Fisher? That's a pretty good place to start.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Nick Lavarco, certainly one of the more physically talented.
Real good outfielder, and Cavazzoni. They're going to be a tough team.
Yeah.
Dark horse though. Who's the dark horse in Group 3?
I think Central's a dark horse. Again,
I think so.
You match with it. It gets back to who's Cam pitching against.
Yeah.
It's so hard though. That bracket is just so, again, there's no easy games there. You get some of those short Group 3 teams. You come back a little closer to Central Jersey, and you hit the Allentowns of the world that are always tough. You go into Northern Burlington, you go right straight down to Morristown.
I like Morristown and Northern Burlington. I think, with Max Martin, Morristown, and Jesse Spector. Jesse Spector's a winner. I think he's committed to Seton Hall. I saw him last year, and I'm like, oh my God, this kid can pitch. And I think he was their number 2 last year. And of course, Drew Wires at Northern Burlington. You play on that small field, and Drew hits 3 out. All of a sudden, you're out of the state tournament because they're gonna have a good record going into the states.
You can play on a big field, and Drew can hit 3 out. I think you get.
Exactly. That's true too.
But I think, again, valuing pitching and all things being equal, and you never know, but I think that's where a Morristown will have an edge over a Northern, so I'm going to say, I don't know, but I think it's going to come down to like a Morristown and an Ocean City, probably ultimately.
Yeah, probably. And as well as I know, Danny McMaster at Cherry Hill West, it's like he hides. They hide almost all season long. And then all of a sudden it's June 13th and they're in the sectional final. I'm like, how the heck did that happen? If they have like 5 injuries and then they'll play Eustis during the week in a non-conference game and losing 10 innings, 1-0 on a steal of home. And I'm like, wait a second, where'd they come from? Danny's a good coach. He does a great job in Cherry Hill.
John Young's one of the bright young players in Jersey, a sophomore, obviously, and recently verbal to UNC. So, they can hide sort of, but they can't really. We know they're out there.
Danny likes it like that. He likes to be hidden.
They all do. They don't. They want
not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Well, we covered Group 4 and Group 3 for you guys today. Give me one player that's maybe on a team that we didn't talk about here at a Group 3, Group 4 that's got your attention.
Again, there may be several of them. I don't even know where to start. Someone that could make a big difference in this tournament, and it's no one surprising, is Ryan Jarros from Cranford. How do you get him out? And if you walk him, how do you get this kid out?
If I'm coaching, I just tell him, don't even bring your bat. The other team, I just say, don't bring your bat to the game because I'm just walking you every time.
But people saw him last year and they said, wow, you got to see him hit now. He's only a junior.
And he runs. He can run too.
He runs. He's a good athlete. He's scary. He's scary that he has another year. I look really forward to the draft next year. I don't think he makes college. but he is a good student. So he's just too good of a hitter. He's one of the best I think I've seen. And the discipline of a hitter, it matters. He just doesn't go up and swing as hard as he can. He has tremendous discipline, doesn't get frustrated with a walk. He's special. He's definitely special. He's my guy this year to just do things that we haven't heard in a long time.
No, but a lot of people say he's the number one junior in the state, and I don't think you would go wrong with that statement for sure. Three
Right.
teams that kind of slipped past us here that I want to make sure we touch on at least quickly, because I think they're all contenders. We got Egg Harbor, we got Jackson, and we got Shawnee.
Yeah. I talked to Coach Anderson at Shawnee, and he said he got 5 committed kids. Ethan Bowen, he really likes. He thinks he's a top 20 team. Of course, Jackson. Pat George does a real good job at Jackson, and he's got probably one of the 3 best pitchers, if not one of the 2 best pitchers in the state, and Zach Crouchfelt. And Charlie Meglio is a great number 2, and besides him being a great hitter. The thing that worries me is what happened at the end of the last year. It worries me, and those kids right now they got to be hungry to come back this year and win. It worries me for the other teams. That's what I'm trying to tell you, because I think Jackson has a bit to grind with some of these teams. They want to win this year.
Yeah.
And the last team you were saying was
Egg Harbor.
Egg Harbor.
Got always having arms.
They do have arms. I was looking at it today, and the Rutgers commit Justin Sweeney. They're going to be a tough team to beat, but they got to win a championship this year. They haven't done it. You got to win something. They no excuse. I don't care if they're 500. They need to win a championship of some kind this year. Got to win one. Got to win one. Come on, Carms. Putting the pressure on you, Carms. Let's go, baby. Oh, he's probably pissed off right now at me.
That's all right.
I'm gonna get him.
He's got to get in line, right? You take a number. We'll be back tomorrow with our look at the big boys, the non-publics A and B. We got some of the best teams, not just in the state there, but in the East region in the country. But that's it for today's look at Group 3 and Group 4, our high school preview week. I'm Mike Olshan. He's John Kroeger. We'll see you tomorrow.